Okay, Joe. Welcome back to Ireland. If you wouldn't mind, just give us a brief outline of what's going on in your situation at the moment.
What's going on? It's a very worrying situation that's going on at the minute. I've recently returned to Ireland last June, the 8th of June last. I was attacked by two members of the Garda. They singled me out in a line of stationary traffic and attacked the car.
And why was that, Joe?
I had been in court that day to try and retrieve chattels, as they call it, back that were taken in a raid last January by up to 20 armed Garda.
And what was the original raid about?
The Garda claimed that there was a threatening email sent to Noreen O'Sullivan and I think a judge as well.
Did you send that email?
No, there was no email sent. And 12 months later there's still been no charge or any mention of this email. I feel it was just a reason to raid the house to find out more about Integrity Ireland.
So you say you left the country in June this year, Joe. Could you very briefly just describe those circumstances?
It was a horrific situation to be in. I was seriously in fear of my life. Prior to the court case that was on the 8th of June, we had found a baton on the lawn outside of the house where I live, my father's house. It's a cul-de-sac in the middle of nowhere. I found it in the lawn the next morning after doing the lawns the day before. So that meant that Garda were snooping around the house in the middle of the night. For what purposes, I don't know. Were they actually tuning into Wi-Fi and sending emails? I don't know what they were doing, but it's obviously sinister, and I fear that they were setting me up for something.
I gather that yourself and your partner Anne were arrested around this time as well and taken to separate Garda stations.
We were held in separate Garda stations. I was in Castlebar, I think she was in Claremorris. We were held for 16 hours where Garda accused us of absolutely unbelievable allegations. And to this day there's been no charges, nothing else has come of it. So it was just for pure intimidation and harassment purposes.
Did they or did they not make any sinister allegations to each of you in the Garda station?
Yeah, when they had us in custody, when we found out when we were speaking after we were released, they tried to play one of us off the other, stating that they'd found this on the computer that I had done and telling me that they'd found something on the computer that Anne had done. They claimed that we were on dating sites. Again, just trying to wind each other up.
Have you been charged with any offences?
No. As regards the arrests and the raids and everything and all the various allegations made, we're looking at 13 months later now. There's still been no charges, no summons issued.
What about all the materials that were seized from the house in the January raid?
Garda still refuse to give anything back at this stage. They're holding thousands upon thousands of euros of goods that they seized from the house. They're also holding my father's car, which they battened in the attack on the 8th of June. They refused to let anyone see it, and they refused to return it. In the 7 months or so that I've been away, I was in the UK, and I've been working desperately hard on finding a solution to getting back to Ireland. When I initially left, I gave the power of attorney to Stephen Manning to try and see what he could do for me while I was out of the country. He wrote to Noreen O'Sullivan and he wrote to Francis Fitzgerald, stating that he had my power of attorney, seeking the identity of the guards who had attacked me. He was blanked and ignored. They refused to give the information requested. Noreen O'Sullivan herself is complicit in covering up for these Gardaí. Very, very serious situation when the Garda Commissioner is prepared to go to such lengths to cover up crimes. At present, because the Garda Commissioner and some of the high-ranking assistant commissioners are determined to keep going for me because of what I'm involved in exposing corruption, the only alternative now is to lodge a criminal complaint against Noreen O'Sullivan, which I'm going to do through Stephen Manning's and Integrity Ireland's S.O.S guide. In trying to secure a criminal conviction against Noreen O'Sullivan. I'm also going to begin civil proceedings against her, and basically whatever has to be done will be done.
Yes, how you doing? My name is Colin Granahan, a member of Integrity Ireland and a close friend of Joe Docoey as well, and I have been involved with this for quite a while, and I have been engaged in trying to return or restore the baton to its rightful owner. As I stated in previous videos, it's no use to us that we're not involved in any criminal or dangerous activity. So all we're looking for and all we have been looking for is just for the owner of that baton and for an explanation as to how it appeared at the Docoey household the night before a serious court case. Now, this has turned up after a load of accusations against Joe Docoey, going back a long, long time. And, you know, this proves that the Gardaí were in around the house, that they were harassing them, and there is no doubt in my mind as to why they were there. There was obviously a plan for him after this court case. Now, the fear that was on that man that day, Joe Docoey, going into that court after seeing the baton and knowing that there was people around the house, how close was he to getting taken out of it? That's what he was asking me on the way into court. And I says, forget about that. We just deal with the court and we'll see what happens after. And we all know what happened after. Yeah, well, and let's not forget what that court case was about that day as well. It was about Joe and Anne trying to get their goods back that was taken in that dawn raid in January, where they came with 20 armed guards, some local guards as well, and took a lot of stuff out of his house, made serious allegations. And we all know from the scene with the baton that any allegations that's made, that they were in there to set them up and to probably feck them up. That's why that they came back again the night before the court case. So, you know, there's a lot that these has to answer for. Anne lost her job through a detective phoning her in place of employment, and she was arrested outside the door. Now, all this, the guards has the power, and they use it, but not in the ways that they should use it. They should use it for the freedom and for the right of wrong citizen, not for the keeping the elite at the top and keeping them out of courtroom. I have no problem, or any Integrity Ireland members, no problem. Anything we've done wrong, we'll pay the price for it. But this is a two-way street. You do the same. Well, I'm a serious advocate for justice, transparency and integrity, and that's what this is about, and I have yet to be challenged on my integrity by any member of the Guards. But anywhere I'm looking at television, newspapers, you name it, your integrity is on the line. Like, even in the court case that day, when you're up giving evidence and trying to hold on to Joe Docoey's stuff, Inspector Clouseau let slip by mistake that Integrity Ireland was linked to international terrorist organisations. Now, look at here. International terrorist organisations, like maybe they're on about the CIA or the Russian mafia, but it's how they want to check their own phones. You know, that's what I'd say. We're down-to-earth kind of people. We want rights for our children, for our grandchildren, openness and transparency, and be able to walk down the road and say hello to our neighbour and ask him, is he all right? Not the fact of walking down the road and see a squad car and wondering what are they going to plant this time in front of me. You know, that's the state we have come to now. They're supposed to be protecting us, and instead of that, we are afraid of them. Like we all know, and I said it before in videos, that they say, don't say anything about the guards, they'll get you. What kind of a state are we living in at this day and age? You know, stand up, people. You have no fear of these thugs. You know, we are responsible, respectable people. And I'll tell you something, if we had done anything wrong with the amount of stuff I have said about the baton and about the guards and challenging their authority, I'd be in Castlereagh by now if they had anything on me. And we'll say, if we're wrong, we put our hands up. But the thing about it is, you cannot come forward, because the evidence has been got around the house that you were there without any permit, without any warrant, without anything. This time ye have no way out. You are around the house, ye have been raffled, and that's the end of it. You know, you're at a dead end here, and that's the bottom line. And before I go, just to state, the harassment and the torture that you have put Dermot Docoey, Anne and Joe through, any one of you that has a conscience, you should go away to the furthest point of Africa that you can find a hiding place in and stay out of sight of decent people. Please.